when a woman is truly interested in you on a deeper physical level, her curiosity about your availability is never just random small talk. It's a subtle but powerful signal. And if you learn how to recognize it, you'll start to see the difference between someone who is simply passing time with you and someone who is positioning herself to spend private, intimate time with you. Most men miss this because they either assume every question is innocent or they overthink it, not realizing that women often communicate interest in ways that aren't direct but still very intentional. When she asks you about your schedule, you're free. Time or even lightly teases you about being too busy, it's rarely just about conversation. What she is doing is measuring how and when she can actually fit herself into your life. And more specifically, when there might be opportunities for intimacy. Think about it. If a woman has no interest in you, why would she care when you're free? Why would she remember what days you're working, when you're off, or what time you usually get home? That level of detail isn't about politeness, it's about logistics. She is setting the stage for when you two can be alone without distractions. Many women are not going to come out and say, I want to sleep with you. That's too blunt, too forward, and for most women, it goes against the natural way they prefer to build tension and chemistry. Instead, she creates openings, and one of the most common openings is by asking about your time. For example, she might casually say, so when are you free this week? Or what do you usually do on weekends? To the average guy, these questions seem harmless, but if you pay attention, the context matters. If this question is coming after she's already been flirting with you, if her body language is open, if she's giving you those subtle signals of attraction, then this curiosity is her way of steering things forward. A woman who doesn't want to be alone with you, doesn't care about your schedule, she's not trying to make space in your life, but a woman who is interested in being intimate will find ways to ask, sometimes multiple times, because she's not just fishing for small talk, she's aligning her availability with yours. Another layer to this is how she responds when you say you're busy. If a woman has no real interest, she'll shrug it off and move on. But if she's genuinely attracted and thinking about more than just conversation, she'll probe further. She'll say, okay, but what about later this week or when you're not busy? She's not satisfied with just hearing that you're occupied. She's looking for another chance, another window where you can both meet. That persistence is a green light most men ignore. What's important here is not to confuse this with clinginess or desperation. A woman who is genuinely interested but values herself won't chase after you like she has nothing else going on. Instead, she'll drop these subtle questions that give you the opportunity to take the lead. She wants to know when you're available so she can position herself without having to say directly, let's be alone. This is where a lot of guys mess up. They either don't recognize the signal and let the opportunity pass, or they jump in too aggressively and kill the natural flow of tension. The key is balance. Acknowledge her curiosity, give her an opening, and then let things unfold naturally. It's also important to notice the tone and timing of when she asks about your availability. If she's asking at the end of a fun conversation, smiling, playing with her hair, leaning closer, that's not an accident. She's planting the seed for the next interaction. If she asks about your schedule when you're already hanging out in a comfortable, relaxed setting. It might be her way of finding out if this moment can continue into something more. Women don't usually waste energy asking questions that don't matter. If she's investing her attention into when you're free, that means she's thinking about being part of that time. You also need to understand that women ask these questions as a form of safety and assurance. Before she takes that step into intimacy, she wants to make sure the man she's interested in is not only available, but also capable of creating the right environment. By asking about your availability, she's also testing how much control you have over your own life. If you're always too busy, too scattered, or too unavailable, that signals to her that intimacy might not be possible. On the other hand, if you can calmly say, yeah, I'm free Friday night, let's do something, you've just passed your test. You showed her that you have the ability to create space for her, and that's attractive. Sometimes women will disguise this question under playful conversation. She might say something like, you're always working. Do you ever relax, or do you even have time for fun? That's not criticism, that's curiosity. It's her way of hinting that she wants to be part of that fun time. A man who doesn't catch the subtext will answer literally and miss the chance. A man who understands the game will smile and respond with something confident and open and like, I make time for the right person. That flips the energy back to her and gives her the invitation to step in. It's also worth noting that this kind of curiosity often comes in pairs. First, she'll ask about your schedule. Then later, she'll ask where you live or who you live with. That second question connects directly to privacy, but it always starts with the first time, because before she can even consider being with you in a private setting, she needs to know if there's actually an opportunity in your life for it to happen. Think of it as her running a mental checklist. When are you free? Where can it happen? And how safe will it feel? These are not random questions. They are deliberate, and they come from attraction mixed with practicality. Now, if you really pay attention, you'll notice that women who are interested don't just ask about your time once. They'll bring it up more than once, sometimes in different ways, to see if you pick up on it. She might casually ask what your week looks like. Then a day later, she'll text, are you busy today? That repetition is not by accident. That's her creating multiple openings for you to lead the interaction forward. If you ignore it or brush it off, you risk signaling that you're either not interested or not capable of recognizing when a woman is trying to connect with you. The reality is most men complain that women don't make their intentions clear, but in truth, women are constantly giving signals. They're just not always direct about it. Asking about your availability is one of the clearest signals you'll ever get. She's not asking because she's curious about your calendar. She's asking because she's already thinking about being with you in a way that requires your undivided attention and eventually your privacy. Once you learn to see this for what it is, you stop missing opportunities and you start leading interactions with confidence. You no longer wonder, does she like me? Because the signs are right there in her curiosity. The moment she starts asking when you're free, you can be sure she's already imagining what being with you might feel like. That's your cue to step up, not to hesitate, because hesitation kills attraction faster than anything else. And that is why the first sign of a woman who truly wants to take things further is always her interest in your availability. Because without time, nothing else can happen. When a woman is seriously considering intimacy with you, one of the clearest signs you'll notice is her curiosity about your living situation. On the surface, it may sound like an innocent question, the kind of thing people ask just to get to know you better. She might casually throw it out there. Do you live alone? Or do you stay with family? Or even, so, who do you live with? But underneath those words lies a deeper meaning. This isn't, oh, random curiosity. It's a way for her to gauge whether you have the privacy, the space, and the kind of environment where intimacy can actually happen. Women rarely take these steps blindly. They think ahead, they calculate, and they want to feel both comfortable and safe before moving forward with someone. When she asks, but where you live, she's really asking herself, is this a place where I could see myself being alone with him? Could this be a safe and private space for us? Most men dismiss this as just small talk, but if you pay close attention, you'll realize it's one of the biggest giveaways of her interest. A woman who has no desire to be intimate with you doesn't care if you live with 3 roommates, your parents, or a dog that barks all night. But when she's attracted, when she's thinking ahead about where things might lead, then suddenly your living situation matters. This is why you'll notice that women bring this up more often when the chemistry between you two is building. It usually doesn't come early in the conversation when she's still deciding if she's even interested, but once she starts to feel that attraction, once she begins imagining the possibility of being alone with you, then her curiosity kicks in. Asking about your living arrangements is her way of testing the waters without having to directly reveal her intentions. It's coded language, and the men who learn to read it correctly will never and be confused about whether a woman is interested in them. Sexually, think about it. If a woman asks, do you live alone? And you answer yes, and you see her eyes light up, or she follows up with a playful, oh, really? That's not just random interest. That's her processing the idea that being with you is actually possible without interruptions. On the other hand, if you say you live with roommates and she immediately follows up with, do they ever bother you, or do they usually stay in their room? She's not just asking about your friends. She's calculating whether intimacy would still feel comfortable in that environment. That curiosity is not accidental. It's a green light disguised as casual talk. What many men miss is that women care about privacy more than men often realize. For men, sometimes attraction alone is enough to drive the next move. But for women, attraction and comfort must exist side by side. Privacy is a huge part of comfort. If she feels like someone could interrupt or that the environment isn't secure, she'll hesitate, even if her attraction is strong. By asking about your living situation, she's really trying to answer for herself, can I feel safe and relaxed if things move forward? This is also her way of assessing whether you're truly independent. A man who has his own space signals responsibility, stability, and control over his life, all qualities that make him more attractive in her eyes. It tells her that you're capable of creating an environment where intimacy isn't complicated by outside influences. On the flip side, if you live in a situation where privacy is hard to come by, that doesn't necessarily kill attraction, but it does mean you have to read the situation carefully. Because when she asks those questions, she's giving you the chance to show that you're still capable of making her feel safe and comfortable. Sometimes the way she asks about your living situation can even be teasing. She might say, so, do you live alone or do you have someone keeping an eye on you? Delivered with a smile or a playful look. That's not just conversation, it's her way of signaling curiosity about whether the possibility of intimacy is realistic. A woman who doesn't care about you It wouldn't bother framing such a question. She wouldn't care enough to ask, but if she's interested, she'll slip it into the conversation because she wants to know what's possible. And notice how this almost always comes after she's already asked about your availability. First, she establishes whether you actually have time, then she checks whether you have the space. It's a natural progression of her thought process, and if you're paying attention, it's one of the easiest ways to see her intentions. Time plus privacy equals opportunity. And when a woman is drawn to you, she will ask about both. What's even more revealing is how she reacts to your answers. If she seems genuinely interested, if she keeps asking follow-up questions like, oh, is it a big place or do you like living there? It's because she's already imagining herself in that environment with you. Even if she doesn't say it out loud, her curiosity tells you that she's mentally placing herself in that scenario. She's testing the picture in her mind of what being with you would look and feel like. Now, some men might confuse this with a woman just being nosy or making conversation, but the context is everything. If she's asking while sitting across from you in a coffee shop on a first meeting, maybe it's just small talk. But if she's leaning in closer, playing with her hair, or if the conversation already has a flirtatious tone, then those same words mean something very different. Women don't like to expose themselves to rejection by being too direct. So they use questions like these as a softer, safer way of showing their intentions. And here's the important part. How you respond matters. If you answer too bluntly or in a way that kills the mood, you could make her feel awkward. But if you respond with a calm, confident energy, maybe a little bit of playful mystery, you keep the attraction alive while also showing her that you understand. For example, if she asks, do you live alone? You don't need to launch into a long explanation. A confident, yeah, I've got my own place. It's pretty chill. Delivered with a smile is enough. That tells her what she wants to know without making the exchange uncomfortable. The beauty of this subtle test is that once you recognize it, you'll never again be confused about whether a woman is truly interested in you. A woman who is only talking to pass time doesn't care where you live, but a woman who's already thinking about what it would be like to be in your space to share that privacy with you will always at some point bring up your living situation. It's her way of painting the picture before it actually happens. So the next time a woman looks at you and asks, do you live alone or who do you stay with? Understand that she's not just asking about walls and roommates. She's asking about possibility, privacy, and whether the environment exists where attraction can naturally unfold. And that's when you'll know without a doubt that her interest is more than just casual talk. And that is why a woman who truly wants to be intimate with you will always ask about your living situation. When a woman is considering intimacy with you, her questions about your availability and your living situation are not just about time and space. They are part of something deeper, her natural instinct to test for comfort and safety before she decides to let things move forward. Attraction may be the spark, but comfort is the foundation. Without it, she won't cross that line, no matter how much chemistry you think exists. This is why when she asks about your time and where you live, she isn't only looking for logistics, she is also evaluating whether you are the kind of man she can feel secure with. Women are wired to be careful about who they give themselves to. For a man, physical attraction can sometimes be enough to act. But for a woman, the stakes are different. She doesn't just want passion, she wants protection. Emotional protection, physical safety, and the assurance that if she gives in to her desire, she won't regret it later. That is why those questions you hear are layered with meaning. When she asks, when are you free? She's also asking, will you make me feel like I matter enough to prioritize me? And when she asks, do you live alone? She's also asking, will I feel safe and comfortable in your space? It's never just about the surface. These subtle checks are her way of testing if you are trustworthy without putting herself in a vulnerable position. If she comes right out and says, I want to be alone with you, she risks being judged or rejected. So instead, she wraps her intent in everyday conversation. That way, she gives you the chance to prove who you are while still protecting herself. Emotionally, she doesn't want to say too much and regret it, but she also doesn't want to leave you guessing forever. So she uses these questions as safe markers, ways of signaling her interest while still gauging whether you are someone she can relax around. It's important to recognize that these tests are not challenges meant to frustrate you. They are simply part of how women navigate attraction. Men often think women are complicated, but in reality, women are consistent. Their questions almost always tie back to comfort and safety. If you can show her through your actions, your words, and your energy that she can trust you, then intimacy becomes a natural progression. But if you miss the signals, or worse, if you respond in ways that make her feel uneasy, she will shut down, even if she was deeply attracted in the beginning. For example, imagine she asks about your schedule. If you respond with annoyance, like she's bothering you, she won't feel valued. But if you respond calmly with a tone that suggests confidence and openness, she feels reassured that you are a man in control of his time and emotions. That calm assurance makes her feel safe. Or take the moment when she asks about your living situation. If you respond nervously, over explaining, or acting defensive, she will feel tension. But if you respond with ease, showing that you are comfortable in your own life, she will mirror that comfort. Her tests are not meant to trick you. They are designed to see how you naturally carry yourself under light pressure. Women also want to know that you can handle the responsibility that comes with intimacy. To her, being with you is not just about desire, it's about placing trust in your hands. When she asks about your environment or your availability, she is trying to see if you are stable enough to handle that trust. A man who can provide comfort and safety doesn't have to convince her with words. She feels it in his energy. She notices how you look at her, how you respond to her curiosity, how you carry yourself in conversation. All of these things add to the answer she is looking for. Can I feel secure with this man? This is why so many men lose opportunities without realizing it. They get frustrated with these subtle questions, or they dismiss them as meaningless. They fail to see that each question is a doorway to deeper connection. If you treat them like interruptions, you close the door. But if you treat them like signals and respond with confidence and clarity, you open the door wider. And once a woman feels that door is open and safe, she will walk through it on her own. You don't have to push her. Another thing to remember is that women are not just testing safety in a physical sense. Yes, privacy matters. Yes, the environment matters, but just as important is emotional safety. A woman wants to know that if she chooses to be with you, she won't feel judged afterward. That's why her curiosity often carries a playful tone. She's watching how you respond. If you answer in a way that makes her feel light, unpressured, and accepted, you've passed her emotional test. If you respond in a way that feels heavy, needy, or desperate, she senses danger and she'll pull back immediately. And here's where many men go wrong. They try to rush this process. They think if she's attractive, everything else will take care of itself. But attraction without comfort doesn't last. A woman may feel the spark, but if she feels unsafe, the moment will collapse. That's why. It's not enough to just be confident. You must also be aware. You must listen to questions she asks, notice the way she asks them, and respond in a way that shows you understand without trying too hard. When she feels seen, when she feels that you recognize her needs without her having to spell them out, her walls come down naturally. Think about how powerful this is with just two simple questions about your time and about your space. She's not only signaling her interest, but also giving you the chance to prove that you're the man she can trust with her vulnerability. This is where men who understand women separate themselves from those who don't. The man who understands sees these questions as opportunities to connect, to reassure, to show leadership. The man who doesn't understand sees them as meaningless chatter and misses the chance completely. When you look at it this way, you realize that comfort and safety are not side issues. They are at the heart of attraction itself. A woman who feels safe with you will naturally desire you more. A woman who feels uneasy will pull away, no matter how strong the initial spark. So when she asks those two questions, pay attention. She's not just curious, she's showing you that she's interested, but she's also inviting you to prove that you can be the man she needs you to be. And that is why those subtle questions are never just about time and space. They are her way of testing whether you can give her the comfort and safety she needs before she decides to give you herself. When a woman is attracted to you and she's already asking those subtle questions about your time and your space, the way she delivers them often tells you even more than the which words themselves. Some women are very subtle, slipping these questions into conversation as if they're nothing, while others might say them with a playful smile, repeating them or teasing you about your schedule or your living situation. This is the part where you have to learn the difference between a casual question and a genuine signal. When she's signaling, her tone, her timing, and her body language all change. It's not just about the words, it's about how she says them and how often she brings them up. She asks once in passing, it might be a simple curiosity, but if she asks more than once, or if she frames it in a way that feels light and playful, that's not accidental. That's her showing you that she's interested without putting herself at risk of being too obvious. Women communicate indirectly because it allows them to maintain control of the situation. If you don't respond the way she hopes, she can always play it off as casual conversation. But if you do respond with the confidence she's looking for, she can lean into it more without feeling like she's exposed herself. This balance of subtlety and signal is the dance of attraction. And once you learn to see it, you'll never be confused again about her intentions. Think about the difference in tone. A woman who just wants to know about your life might ask, "Do you live alone?" and then move on quickly. But a woman who's signaling interest will ask the same question and then pause, watching your response, maybe smiling or raising her eyebrows, waiting to see how you answer. She's not just asking, she's engaging, testing your awareness and giving you the chance to lead the interaction forward. That pause is her signal. That smile is her green light. If you miss it, she won't necessarily push harder because she doesn't want to risk rejection. But if you catch it, that's your opportunity to move things forward naturally. Another sign is repetition. If she circles back to these questions, she's not forgetting your answer. She's checking again, nudging again, seeing if you'll pick up on the fact that she's not asking randomly. A woman who's genuinely curious about intimacy will find ways to revisit these topics sometimes in different words, sometimes disguised as jokes. She might say, "You're always so busy. I don't know how anyone can ever get time with you." Or, "Your roommates probably get tired of you bringing people over, huh?" These statements are not complaints, they're signals. She's expressing interest while also testing how you'll respond. The key for you is to recognize when subtlety crosses into signaling. A casual question doesn't carry energy. A signal does. It comes with eye contact, with a playful tone, with her being closer, or with her asking again later. That's how you separate interest from politeness. When you recognize the difference, you stop overthinking and you start leading. This is why awareness matters so much. Most men fail because they expect women to be direct, but directness is rare. Instead, women use layers, questions that look casual on the surface, but carry intention underneath. If you miss those layers, you'll miss the opportunity. But if you see them, if you respond with calm confidence, she feels understood, and that makes her even more attracted to you.